In this episode of the Orange Nerd Show, where we talk about everything except the theme parks. In today's episode, we're talking all about Disney CEO succession. There's been a lot of news breaking lately. The EA executive is on that list to become the new CEO. We got some Netflix news related to the CEO succession plan. We have a lot to discuss today. I got the one and only Mr. Matthew Muir in the house with me today on this episode of the Orange Nerd Show. Let's go. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of the Orange Nerd Show. Like I said, on Orange Nerd, we talk about everything except the theme parks, whether it be movies, studio, streaming, corporate talk. We even do like music video reactions, all kinds of stuff here on the Orange Nerd Show. But Matthew, it's been a little bit since you've been on the show. How you been, man?
Brilliant.
Good. It's good to see you. Now, Matthew's all the way from the UK. Matthew, if you could just remind everybody where they could find you on social media, sir.
You can find me on Instagram at Matthew Thomas Muir, and you can now find me on BlueSky at Matt Muir or 24 or @beskys.social. I'll put other in the description.
Perfect. Yes, I will definitely put all of that in the description. Make sure you follow Matthew on Instagram and on BlueSky. BlueSky is really blowing up. There's been a lot of people kind of coming on to BlueSky. I've had like a wave of followers with BlueSky lately. It's been pretty cool. It's becoming a very active platform, which is good to see. Twitter needs a little bit of competition, or X as they call it. But Matthew, let's go ahead and dive right into this. So the other day, let me bring my screen up real quick. The other day, it was announced that Disney, this is courtesy of Variety, by the way, Disney expands CEO search to outside candidates, including EA's Andrew Wilson. Okay, it says here, Disney's board said it expects to announce a CEO successor to Bob Iger in early 2026, but the guessing game about who will take the throne at the Magic Kingdom is already well underway. It says here, the media company enlisted headhunting firm Hedrick and struggles to vet candidates outside of Disney. And the firm has identified 3 potential candidates, including Electronics Arts CEO Andrew Wilson. Citing anonymous sources, Variety confirmed that EA's Wilson is in the mix, but it remains very early in the process. Reps for Disney and EA declined to comment. Now, you are, from what I understand, Matthew, are you a gamer or no?
Yeah, I am, definitely.
You are a gamer. Okay, good. I thought you were. I just wanted to make sure. So as a gamer and someone who follows, because you sent us a super chat the other day about the gaming strike with SAG-AFTRA, which I wasn't even aware of. So you follow it pretty closely. But I mean, would you be okay with Andrew Wilson becoming the CEO of Disney based on what he's done?
Actually, yes.
Really? Okay. What about him that you like? What about him stands out for you?
He seems to just have quite a good creative prowess.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I honestly, full disclosure, don't know much about him. I'm not a big gamer, but I've seen a lot of people, on social media and what have you, sort of trashing him because they don't really like the way or the direction that EA has gone, or EA has a public perception problem, right? And in terms of the public perception problem, and again, this is coming from a total layman in terms of video games, okay? So, but when I hear people talk about, well, EA has an optics issue, right? And the last thing Disney needs is that kind of issue at Disney. I understand and respect what those people are saying. But here's the thing. Yes, EA might have an optics problem or might have a reputation issue. But let's not forget here, Comcast didn't exactly have the best reputation either. Comcast was voted worst company in America, I don't know how many times, okay? I mean, the reputation over there at Comcast and their executives are not the greatest and have not been the greatest for a very long time. So they were able to, with that horrible reputation, they were able to buy Universal and actually do a really good job maintaining and expanding their parks division, and even their studio stuff has been really good under Comcast. So look, again, I'm a normie. I'm not privy to all the video game stuff, but when people tell me that this executive Andrew is not a good fit for Disney because EA has a terrible reputation, I just want to point to the direction of Comcast. Comcast didn't have a great reputation either. Like I said, it was voted worst company in America many times. It has a terrible reputation. I mean, probably up there with like Monsanto and companies like that. I mean, so I think people need to have a little bit of an open mind. So I'm glad, Matthew, because I know that you're very passionate about Disney and especially like who runs the company. We've talked about it a lot, you and I together. It gives me encouragement that you like this guy. You know what I'm saying? It gives me a lot of encouragement. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But I mean, do you think the chances of him actually getting this job is pretty good, or you think it's probably going to be an internal candidate, in your opinion?
I do think it is actually pretty good, because why would I even initiate this search if he really was bent on just going for someone internally?
That's a great point. And also, I feel like I don't feel like they're very confident in the internal candidates. Look, I'm not saying that these four individuals, we have, Dana Walden, Josh Giamaro, we have the guy from ESPN, I think, Pitaro, Andrew Bird, Jimmy Pitaro, and Alan Berman. These are competent people, smart people. You know what I'm saying? Dana especially. I think Dana's probably the smartest of the bunch, to be honest with you. But there must be something there, though, with these internal candidates that's making Bob Iger and the board go, I don't know. We got to look outside a little bit, because there's something with these four that they're not really cutting it. So you're right, Matthew. The fact that they're going outside, they're looking at people like the EA guy, right? Andrew. What's his name? Andrew Wilson.
Yeah,
it says a lot. Now, this isn't the only news, though, in regards to the CEO. Now, Bob Iger, it was said also, Bob Iger has actually met with the CEOs of Netflix. Now, for those at home that are not aware, Netflix has a co-CEO structure. They actually have two CEOs. Now, we've said a lot, Matthew, on this channel, you, myself, the Italiano, I think even Seymour Duck, that Disney really needs like a dual leadership structure when it comes to the CEO thing. It's become a bigger company. And really, the Walt Disney Company was founded on that dual leadership with Walt and Roy. It worked out really, really well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, Eisner and Wells. That was an interesting piece of information, that Bob Iger is actually taking that idea very seriously, seriously enough where he actually went to Netflix and had a talk with the Netflix guys and asked them, hey, does that co-CEO structure, is this something that could work for a company like Disney? Right? That was very encouraging. What say you about that, Matthew? I mean, we've talked about it, but for those of you at home that are not aware, I mean, what's your take on the co-CEO situation at Disney? Would you support it?
Absolutely.
And do you think that this is something that they might actually do, or is it kind of a long shot? I mean, looking into it and kind of talking,
I wouldn't put it past them to actually go through with it this time.
There's benefits to it. There's a lot of benefits. Number one, because it just works. We've seen it. That's how the Walt Disney Company was founded. But it also takes pressure off of one person, right? So when you had Bob Chapek come in here in what I think it was like February of 2020,
he was only a finance guy.
Yeah, he was a finance guy. He lacked the charisma and the suave to kind of deal with the Hollywood people and stuff. So he struggled. But let's just say if Chapek came in and he had like a Dana Walden as a co-CEO along with him, that would have been a different situation. That would have ended very differently for Bob Chapek, I think. Much more positively, I think. So I think that the positive about having this dual CEO position is that you can have two people that can kind of play off of each other's weaknesses. So you have Dana Walden. Let's say you have Dana Walden and Josh Giamaro. You have Dana, who's very skilled in the studio side, knows studio inside and out, knows how to play the Hollywood smooth game, right, with that whole industry, which is very important, right? But then you have Josh Giamaro, who's a theme park guy. He knows the theme parks inside and out, which is Dana's weakness. So you can kind of play off each other's weaknesses and fill in those gaps. And I think it's a very, very smart strategy. And it doesn't lay the blame on any one individual at that point, which is also good. So it creates a little more stability and a little bit of a it's a little bit of a protection factor where it's not just one person, and if they go down, then there's major issues like Chapek. If you have two, that situation is a little bit more sturdy, so to speak. But I hope it happens. But Matthew, who would you put if they do this co-CEO situation? Who would you put as the two CEOs to head the Walt Disney Company?
I don't have any particular preference, but as long as it's preferably someone from outside.
Okay, so if we have two CEOs, you prefer someone from outside. Do they both have to be from outside for you, or just one?
I would say at least one.
Okay, so let's say hypothetical. Just to
try and balance things out a little.
Right, exactly. And I would agree with that. I think that's smart. So let's say, for example, we get Andrew Wilson from EA. Let's say he's going to be a CEO. From the Disney side, who would you put as his co-CEO?
I would probably just have to say Dana Walden.
Okay.
Out of all four internal candidates, she's probably the strongest.
Yeah. No, I would agree with you. I would agree with you on that. That's interesting. Dana and Andrew, that'd be interesting. Now, here's the other thing, too, I want to talk to you about. So we had an election here in America, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So Trump won, right? No secret. He won. And Elon Musk is part of his administration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's also no secret Disney has had a big issue with Elon. You know, they pulled their advertising money from X.
As have many companies.
Exactly. Thank you, Matthew, for stating that, because a lot of other content creators and people in media don't really say that. But Comcast, okay, also pulled theirs, and Apple. There's a ton of companies
and
that
even
pulled.
Lionsgate pulled theirs.
Even Lionsgate, exactly. So it wasn't just the Mouse House. It was its laundry list of other companies. You know, I know Elon likes to focus on Disney because that's what gets him the headlines. But it was a lot of companies. It wasn't just one. But all these companies now, it was announced the other day, are coming back, and they're putting their money back into the advertising on X. Okay, including Disney. It was all at once, and it's in my opinion, it's no surprise after the election. Now Elon has a ton of power over in the administration. Now all of a sudden these companies decided out of the blue that they want to put their money back into X. It's strange, especially right now when X seems to be kind of bleeding out a little bit. I feel like other platforms are gaining a lot of ground, like BlueSky and what have you. So it's a weird time for them to randomly decide to come back. So not so random. Obviously, it's because Elon now has power over there at the White House. But what were your thoughts on that, Matthew, in terms of like this whole thing where these companies pulled out and then now they're back in? What's your take on that, brother?
I would say just trying to remain politically neutral and stray away from any harmful causes.
Oh, you mean these companies are trying to kind of keep it where they don't get any shit?
Yeah, they're just trying to keep it that way. You'll notice they pulled out their advertising immediately after the first attack between Israel and Hamas in late 2023.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that assessment, Matthew. I think that you're right on that. I think they're trying to sort of mitigate any kind of fallout, especially Disney, because Disney was in the crosshair. Disney really was the focus for like Elon. You know, Disney's an easy target. You know what I'm saying? It's the headline grabber, and that's why they gravitate toward Disney when this stuff comes up. Even though Comcast is doing the same shit, you know what I'm saying? But it's all about grabbing headlines. But yeah, I think Disney is worried, to be honest with you. I think Disney's very worried because they have a guy here, Elon, and even Trump, who's mad at Disney because of that ABC debate that Trump said was rigged for Kamala. So Trump's upset with Disney. Elon Musk was very mad at Disney. So Disney now is like, this is like the olive branch. Okay, you know what? We'll put our ad money back into X. You know what I'm saying? Leave us alone, basically. We'll put our ad money back. It's an interesting move because there's also talks that The View on ABC, which is Disney owned, is also going to have much more conservative voices on that show, which has been pretty progressive. That The View is not exactly like, you know, let's be honest, it's not fair and balanced. It's not exactly like neutral. It's a very progressive show, right? No matter what side of the aisle you're on, we can just be honest about that. So it's kind of interesting that after the election now they're deciding to kind of add more conservative voices, which I feel is another olive branch from Disney to like Trump and Elon to be like, hey, you know what? We're changing. We're willing to work with you. You know what I'm saying? So you can sense it. They're scared, and I think ultimately it'll be okay for Disney because I think ultimately Elon just wants his money. Okay, he'll be happy to get the ad money back for X, and Trump is always complaining about mainstream media, and to have the more conservative voices on ABC and what have you. I think these are smart moves Disney's making to like sort of like sort of repair that relationship so they don't get any blowback from the administration. But I mean, do you think it'll work, or do you think it's pretty much?
It probably will because I think as long as Trump needs the media in a way.
Yeah. And Trump's a businessman at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? And Trump respected Bob Iger enough that he put Bob Iger on his economic advisory board when in the first time around, the first time he was president. And Bob Iger quit that board because of the Paris Accords thing, I believe. But at the end of the day,
agreement.
Yeah, the climate agreement. Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, I think there was that baseline respect that Trump has for Bob Iger because it's businessman to businessman. You know what I'm saying? I think he understands that more. DeSantis doesn't really understand that. DeSantis was much more He was much more of ideological. I can never pronounce that, but he was much more focused on his ideology. And he didn't. I felt like DeSantis was less concerned about the business element of it, as long as he got the political and the ideology in there. But I think Trump is not necessarily like that. I think Trump does understand the business side of it and understands, that whole aspect. So I don't think they're going to have too much issue there with that. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. We're gonna know who the CEO is by the end of this year, I believe. So. By the end of this year, early next year, we'll know who it is. So Disney has to really make the right decision here because the last time they did this, it didn't turn out so good with Bob Chapek. So Bob Iger, there's no do-overs. This is it. You know what I'm saying? But we got that guy that was his name. I think is hold on one second. Let me just double check real quick. I don't want to mispronounce his name. James Gorman. James Gorman. He's the chairman of the. He's the chairman of the he says here he's leading the board CEO search committee as chairman effective January 2nd, 2025. So he's taking over from Nike executive chairman Mark Parker. So I've heard good things about James Gorman. I've heard actually really good things about him. So I'm very curious to see. Even Nelson Peltz came out and said he has faith in Gorman leading this team and picking a good CEO. So when Peltz is saying that, I mean, Peltz is no fan of current Disney. Let's be honest, right? So I think it was a good sign, though, at least that as critical as that Peltz has been, that he can acknowledge Gorman's the right pick to kind of lead this search. So I'm cautiously optimistic. But before we close it out, Matthew, what are your thoughts? Are you optimistic about? I mean, do you think we're going to find a good either CEO or CEOs to lead this company?
Yeah, I do think we are at the end of it all.
You think it's possible? You think we might be going into? Do you think we could possibly go into another golden age with like how it was with Michael Eisner and Wells eventually? How it was.
Certainly.
You think so? Okay. Well, I hope you're right. I'm optimistic. I am. I'm optimistic. I think we need fresh eyes in there. Bob Iger had his run. I think he did a good job overall. I think he's even done a good job since he's come back. I mean, he's turned it around. It's getting harder and harder. Like we always talk about, was it Matthew grifters, right? The grifters,
yeah.
It's getting harder and harder for the grifters to kind of do the whole big mouse bad thing. Cause it's like, Disney had a great earnings call the other day. The numbers are improving. They are moderating. We're seeing that,
the only ingredient they might have left up their sleeve is to just say, but no matter how good Disney is, he did it economically at any point since Roy O. Disney died. The company, as soon as he died, was as good as dead already.
Yeah. I don't agree with that assessment. People have that viewpoint. I don't agree with that. I think that Disney's obviously Walt was a huge He's the elephant in the room, obviously, and when we lost Walt, I mean, there was a big void there for a long time, right? But I think there's many capable people. There's many capable people in this world that can do amazing creative things. I think we talked about it in a live show the other day too, right? So yes, Walt and Roy were giants in Hollywood, right? They were amazing, brilliant men. But that doesn't mean that there's not going to be any other brilliant men or women to come after them. There have been. We've seen so many brilliant people come in to the Walt Disney Company alone since those two men have passed away. So the idea and the foundation that Walt and Roy set for this company lives on. And there's always going to be people that are creative and smart that can take that on and do great things. So I'm very optimistic. And hey, Walt Disney was an optimist. And, so as Disney fans, I think it's important to be optimistic. Now, you don't want to be naive and you don't want to put your head in the sand, but it's okay to be optimistic. That doesn't make you a pixie duster. You know what I'm saying? It's good to have an optimistic view of the future and understand that things can work out. So Matthew, I do appreciate you, man. It's always good having you on. We'll get you on again very, very soon. But if you just want to remind everybody before we leave, again, it'll be in the description, but if you can just let them know where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Instagram at Matthew.Muir, all one word, and also at BlueSky at MattMuir24 or be at sky.social.
There he is, and I'll be linking all his stuff down below. Matthew is family here at OG55. We love Matthew. He's awesome. He's been a friend of the channel for a very, very long time. And, these shows are not easy for Matthew to do because he's all the way in the UK. So these time differences are just insane. So we do appreciate you, Matthew. And until the next time, everybody, comment down below with all your thoughts. We would love to hear from you and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.